Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Okay.
Hey, what's up, everybody? XWingVideos here.
XWingVideos 01.
Now, the one thing that I would like to tell you, we would like to tell you about these movies that I really enjoyed. There are only 3 I only saw, but I didn't see the other ones yet.
There's 5. Okay. I'm gonna give you a hint. There were 3 of them. And one was just the normal name. Second one was called United. Third one was called The Last Stand. There were 2 prequels. The first prequel was actually based back in the 70s, and the second prequel was 60s, I think. I'm not gonna say the name of the first prequel because that might give it away. But okay, that's one. The second prequel is called First Class. Take a guess. Yeah, you won't get it in a million years. It's called X-Men. X-Men. And, just the thing, I'm not going to stop the camera, but I got a second. Luckily enough, I got all of them right up here in my little stash. Wolverine. First Class. X-Men Last Stand. X-Men 2 United. X-Men. Yeah, I got 5 of them. All of them. Yeah, pretty hypergenic right there. First I was tired, now I'm actually awake, kind of. Well, I should be awake because I gotta go somewhere after this and I gotta work. Anyway, that's not important. So what are you gonna say?
And then I thought I only saw I only saw 4 of them, at least. Sorry about that. I saw the origins of Wolverine, the X-Men, X-Men 2 United, and the third one, Last Stand. What I want to tell you about quickly, the origins is almost in between Civil War, the World War II, Vietnam, and right into now because.
Well, actually, it was let's see, it started in 1845, I think.
Yeah, it was right because
this guy and this guy. This is Logan, also known as Wolverine. This is Victor.
As Sabretooth.
Yeah.
I
will explain a funny coincidence in a moment. But yeah, it was basically 45, and then it turned out they were were they actually full brothers or half brothers, step brothers? I can't remember.
They were brothers. I think.
Yeah, I think they were. Now that I think about it, because I just saw this movie for the first time recently, and I can't totally remember. It was a week ago.
Yeah, it was almost in the beginning when.
Yeah, and then they go through the Civil War, then they go to World War I, World War II. They skip Korean War, and they go to Vietnam War. And then they're in the 70s, I think.
Then they mistakenly did something wrong, and then they told them to stand down, and then they were about to get shot, but then they didn't get shot originally.
Right,
but they have the strong, I mean, you get the picture. And then that Major William Stryker came in, talked to them as a special team.
Yeah.
And I think I know how I can name them. One of them is like transporting when you disappear.
Spectre, I think his name is.
Thank you. Big guy who.
I forget what his actual name was, but I think
Well, I mean.
they call him Blob, or I don't know.
Oh my
his
god.
Name was, I forget what his real name was.
It was Fred Dukes.
Oh yeah, Fred Dukes.
Yeah, and Zero, who's the one with the weapons, he spins them around and he
Oh yeah, Samurai. The guy with the samurai swords. Yeah, then there was.
And then
I think it was him, and then there was another guy who
then the
was
one
really
who
quick
does
with the guns.
And then he did the one with the electricity,
then there was the electricity guy.
And that electricity guy, he was in the Lost movie.
Oh,
I'm serious. I've seen the Lost movies.
Yeah,
and I thought they were very good. Now, and then Logan he didn't want to do this seriously, and then they had to leave. Then 6 years later, he had a nice wife. Almost.
But it turns out her sister was a mutant too.
Yeah, her sister.
Talk about this.
Her sister was in the end with the strong silver.
Diamond skin.
Yeah, diamond skin. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and then unfortunately, then Victor starts killing them one by one.
Yep. Grabbing
one of them for. I forgot, Wade, the sword player, the sword guy that you just saw, he was as Mutant 11. Fortunately, after when the credits are over at that time, they showed him with that scene,
Yeah.
And I wondered, it was a little bit, a little weird.
Yeah.
But
strange.
when I had the one that's like a little bit in production, like when I had that on my iPod, it was a little bit different. Because Logan was in some kind of bar and then he was just drinking to believe, and then that's it. And then it was, I don't know how they really did that, because I mean, it's not because they really want to delete that scene and put something different. It just doesn't matter. X-Men 1, that was okay, because for that, when the Origins was really funny, when Patrick Stewart, oh my gosh, he was just standing, you know?
Yeah, he was standing. Now, get this, he came off the helicopter, and he was standing. Now, in X-Men 2...
And 3.
And X-Men 3, he was in a wheelchair. Because, I'll get to that. Continue.
Yeah. And then we already know who... When someone named Marie, well, her mutant name was going to be Rogue.
Oh, yeah.
Because the problem is, though, she was in a relationship with someone, but then unfortunately, started kissing each other, and suddenly, the skin was all like...
He didn't die.
It's just the skin was like coming a little bit tight, or like spread it open, and then suddenly I didn't do it, and that's what she said, and then unfortunately she had to move up to Canada.
Yeah, that's a shame. Another thing, Hugh Jackman, who played Wolverine, his voice wasn't, well, it was his voice, but it wasn't the real way he speaks. He's actually British.
Different, though. It was like up and down a little bit.
He's a funny dude. It's funny how he doesn't really get along with Scott Summers, also known as Cyclops.
I know, because...
My favorite.
Because Wolverine is like right into Jean, the Phoenix.
Yeah, I like the one scene, and I think it was the first one, or I forget which one it was, but they got like sort of like into an argument, and then Wolverine, he had his claws out, and then Cyclops said something, and he didn't like it, and Wolverine's like, and then his two go in, and his middle one is sticking up, so he basically flipped them off with his claws. But that was funny.
That's what it was almost looked like
that
right
was
there.
Funny, yeah.
And I think like he just couldn't stop in his dream when he was asleep, and then Rogue comes in, and then suddenly, and then suddenly when Rogue touches him, then it was like whoa. And then unfortunately the one I forgot, Ian McKellen, who played as
Magneto.
Eric. Eric slash Magneto.
Magneto. Like a magnet, because you know he has telekinesis.
Yeah, he has that silver power to do anything, and he also picks up Wolverine sometimes. It's in the third movie, which is apparently, and with Mystique, which she was in the first, second, and third. Well, I mean, for the younger one was in the First Class.
First Class.
I didn't get a chance to see that yet, but
you should see that one day. That's
in the First Class, it's like almost in the 50s and showing a view of President John F. Kennedy.
It was 60s, yeah. It was like 60.
And it was talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis. I know it because I've read about history when I was taking history at school.
Yeah. And third one had Beast in it, and First Class is where Beast comes in. Mystique was also in that one. Funny thing, I'm going to tell you the faults about these movies. In the, so this is, First Class took place in the 1960s, where she was probably like in her late 20s. And then in Last Stand, they came up with a cure for curing mutants. She got the injection put into her, and she went back to her human form, and these X-Men took place in like our time, like today, like in the 2000s, and she looked like she was in her 20s. Now, from like a 40-year jump, that's kind of awkward. And the other thing is, at the very end of First Class, Charles Xavier, he was shot. I forget who shot him, but then Magneto came, used his telekinesis, pulled out the bullet, but it removed like a disc or something in his spine. So he was in the wheelchair at the end of this, and this is him right there. They didn't show like a little Patrick Stewart acting scene, but then, like I said, in Wolverine, he came off the helicopter standing in the Patrick Stewart form. So that's kind of a fault there. So there were a couple faults to the prequels, but
at least then the first one they took out that power that was connecting to New York City at that time.
I guess, yeah. Oh, and another thing. There was another guy named Sabretooth in X-Men 1, but he and Wolverine had no relation. Some weird reason, were there two Sabretooths? I don't know.
It was a big showdown.
I don't know.
And then
It's weird.
I thought it was very good. They also have the extended scenes. If you play it all with the extended scenes, it's gonna probably repeat the same thing. And I thought it was very good. Now the second one, X-Men 2, United. We're going on next.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
It's really interesting because they have with Hank McCoy a little bit in the middle part, or that security officer that was with Magneto for that. Well, then he was in the third one. Well, I know it's not the same actor anyway, but hey, who cares? It doesn't matter. And seriously, when I thought it was, I really liked it when they reunited, and when the villains from the first movie, they reunited with the good side a little bit for some of the time to stop William Stryker from trying to build Cerebro.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is just killing the mutants. But then when they felt the pain was going right on them, and then suddenly Magneto switched it to humans. Yeah, and then they had to stop with Jason trying to attach to Charles' mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they got out of there, and then there was no choice. That their engine was offline, then it would take a long time for them to get it back up. Then suddenly, Jean Grey had no choice but had to save them with sacrifice. And then there was this new guy who also transports. There were two transporters, actually. One in the Origins and another one in the second.
Yeah, his name was Nightcrawler. He looked like a demon.
Kurt Wagner.
And Kurt Vaughan, yeah. And then there was another guy in First Class who was the same thing as Nightcrawler, except I don't know what his name was, but he was red. The only difference was that he was red. But yeah, he looked like a demon. He could teleport and stuff like that.
And the third one, then Scott had this weird mind in his, he hears Jean, and then suddenly went over to find out. And then he was like, stop, and then he took off those glasses, then shot the water. Then suddenly when she took off the glasses and kissed, suddenly a weird thing happened. And then Scott was dead.
Yeah, it was a shame.
And then they heard the response with Logan and Aurora.
Aurora Monroe, yeah. Storm.
So, and then they had to get to Alki Lake. And then they saw the glasses.
Yep. Found the glasses.
Then they saw Jean.
Yep.
Then they have to leave her alone because it was struggling to try to get out. Then, fortunately, they were in the beginning. There's a few years before at that time when they were adults by then. And when they had Stan Lee in there, the comic book dude, when he was watering some, and then you saw the water flowing, he was like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly she was getting, and Charles was not supposed to try to get into her brain, Right. Eric was trying to tell him not to, because then she would get into a fury and try to kill Charles. And then they had this new villain, Juggernaut, the big dude in the X-Men 3.
I think he was this guy right here.
They also had that guy with the multiple same guy faces. It's not shown in there, at least, unfortunately.
Well, there is a metal guy right here. I don't know if he was good or not.
Oh my god, he was good, because he,
I barely remember the metal guy.
He was in the second movie.
He was?
Yeah, he was.
And then there's a guy named Iceman, who then kind of, becomes, boyfriend, girlfriend with Rogue. And then there's a guy named Pyro, who manipulates fire. He was in the second one also.
But then he switched sides with the villains. He had no choice.
He got onto the helicopter with Magneto. And then during a big battle in the third one, they're shooting ice and fire at each other. It is, I don't know how to explain it, but if you've seen the Harry Potter movies when the spells collide, it was like that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, but in the fourth one with the Goblet of Fire, Petroleum Cantatum, that's what it was called when it was together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it connected all together. So, and then the end when they got the one mutant that they were trying to kill was Jimmy, which is Leech. They finally got him out of there. Then all the mutants were finally down.
Which one was Leech?
The one that was held in that island right where the big Golden Gate Bridge.
Was he the guy who like cured mutants or something?
The
bald kid.
He had the one with the power right where, when Hank McCoy was coming up to him, and then when he was putting his hand up to shake his hand, then you know what happened?
Oh, the spikes came out.
No, it's just. It was with Hank McCoy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When his like
hand
fur went
was
away.
like a human, you know, and then.
Oh yeah, that kid. Okay.
And then one of the other actor was like, he was in the one that had spikes that comes out. He was in the Lost movie too.
Oh.
Yeah, when all of them were, and then when all the soldiers were starting to fire, then Jean got into the Fury again, and then killed the other mutants and killed the soldiers.
Yeah.
And then the only thing is, though, Logan was the only one that could stop her. Mm-hmm. And he had no choice.
Yeah.
He was, like, feeling that pain, but then he was not dying.
Right.
Because he has that adamantium.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know what happened?
What?
For you. And then save me, and then I love you, and then he had no choice but to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was all for the other ones.
Yeah, I guess that's it. That's what was gonna be a quick talk turned into like 10-minute talk, but yeah.
So these
I dropped one.
So these are all like.
Yeah.
So this is all for the
5. I don't know if you can see all of them. Yeah.
So
but,
this is XWing. So this is XWingVideos.
And Falcon Videos, the one.
Signing off. Do 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 do.